Sup, bro, you like marriage angst? Well, let's find out whether or not you like marriage angst. This is some good stuff from SciSet Diary, the flagship blog of the SciSet Diary universe. On reflection, that could have gone without saying. In the good stuff on Honeycurse Tales, I mentioned that there was this huge interblog universe with a coherent continuity and its own individual storylines that would need their own videos if they were going to be talked about. SciSet Diary focuses on the titular Sci-Twi and Sunset and goes through their entire relationship all the way from getting together, to getting engaged, to getting married, to being surprised with a magical lesbian babu, to Twilight worrying about coming out as asexual, to learning about their magical lesbian babu being paraplegic with an explanation that was way more complicated than it needed to be, and I love it for that, to having a huge fight where Sunset wants to move to Equestria for dumb reasons, to Sunset's ex coming back after 6 years wanting to be friends and Sunset being a bitch about it. This whole blog story is a beautiful trip. I love stories about relationships between people who, how do I phrase this, aren't the best at relationships and are constantly letting their impulses get the better of them and then throwing unbelievable curveballs that even the best marriages would struggle with. I love the way Age writes Sunset in this comic. Like, for real, I'm not being sarcastic. I genuinely love this characterization of Sunset because she's just so much more interesting than most fan works that make her the most perfect angel. I talk a lot about how I don't like superficially mature comics, but SciSet Diary isn't that kind of comic. The comic talks about a lot of important and uncomfortable things, like couples fighting, for instance. That doesn't get talked about because the brony fandom are a bunch of self-centered idiots fucking in a ditch, and if a character so much as rolls their eyes at their partner, the ship is declared abusive and never touched again. The fact that marriages are hard? Yeah, this comic will talk about that and not immediately break the ship up because the paradise was interrupted for 5 seconds. SciSet Diary talks about things that are uncomfortable and which many people quite justifiably don't want to talk about. Fighting, breakups, disabilities, rarely any fan work talks about asexuality. It's all interesting things and it's supplemented by some very interesting characters who don't know how to handle these things and they're just making it up as they go along. SciSet Diary is a very interesting, turbulent comic, and it is definitely worth a perusal at the very least. If you like this kind of messy angst that has an actual reason to be angsty, which I actually do, then it is definitely something you should be following. SciSet Diary only has a Ko-Fi page. I did find an old link to a Patreon, but it's not an active creators page, so it looks like they don't have a Patreon anymore. I could be wrong though, I'll update the description if I find out otherwise. So that's SciSet Diary. Some good stuff you should definitely check out. Links are in the description below. See ya!